Hi, so lovely to be back in your ears again with the latest podcast episode, Your Trigger for Change. Hey, my name is Nicola Moras, and it is that time again where we are talking about the things that we need to do in order to create change. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a pretty high pain tolerance. And I guess, when I think about this, I think about roller derby, I think about coaching, I think about work, I think about relationships, I think about parenting. I think this kind of thing, whether you're leading a team or you're doing your own thing, I think there comes a point where we realize that we're tolerating stuff that maybe you shouldn't be. Health, wealth, business, whatever area of your life you want to think about. And I was thinking while I was preparing for this particular episode, I was thinking about the things that I've been putting off. So I've got my to-do list. If you like, my daily actions sitting next to me. You guys have heard me talk about this in the past and the way that I like to plan. And there are things that I have been actively bypassing for a number of time. So a number of weeks, actually. So one of the things is reaching out to someone, asking them to clarify a particular point of view, and also asking them for a bit of a favor, actually. And I've been putting this thing off, and the pain that I've been in, like the metaphorical pain that I've been in, is me sitting here going oh my God, what is she going to think about me? Is she going to judge me? Things didn't go so well last time we spoke. Not that it was bad, but we haven't had any kind of communication or relationship probably in the last 3 years, actually, other than some pretty transactional kind of emails. And so I've sort of built it up in my head as, oh my God, I don't want to do that. And how is she going to react? And what if she says no to this favor that I've been asking her about? Not yet, though. This is the perceived pain, right? And I realize that I've just got to actually bite the bullet and do the thing. So I've done that today. Yes, I know. High fives through the air. Thank you so much. Go, Nicola. But I was thinking about why I had been putting things off. And it made me think about, I've got a situation that I've had to deal with kind of, in the more recent history versus ancient history of my life. And it was about calling people out on poor behavior. And I held off and I held off and I held off and I held off. And as you can probably appreciate, it's the kind of thing I didn't want to address it instantly, because I want to be able to process my thoughts, my emotions, my thinking, and my feelings around what's going on. I want to make sure that the way that I've perceived the situation is accurate. And I want to make sure that the way that I approach it is going to be something that is helpful versus harmful. So helpful versus harmful. So I made all my notes, I had all my things ready, and I for probably, I don't know, a week and a half, I have been stewing and ruminating on how to address this particular issue. And I got brave enough to go and do it. But then something happened and I couldn't address it at the particular time that I needed to. And so I put it off. And what ended up happening was I had about a week of intense anxiety. I felt sick. The thought of having to call out this behavior made me feel really ill. And I kind of built it up to being potentially bigger than what it was. That was a pretty big deal. Potentially built it up to being a bigger deal in my head than what it was in reality, to face it and to deal with it. So I've ended up in a whole world of pain, right, before going and addressing it. So when I've gone and addressed this, the behavior that was happening, and I got it all off my chest in a way that was fair, empathetic, but firm. And I advised these people about what the consequences of certain actions were, and that I was not going to tolerate this kind of behavior, et cetera, et cetera. And I felt so much better. I don't actually think that these people even batted an eyelid or have probably thought about this issue ever again since. So I put myself through this whole world of pain, made this confrontation in my head probably seem worse than what it was. And although it needed to be addressed, and it was an important issue that needed to be addressed, the repercussions were nothing. Right. So I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I allow that to go on for so long? And for me, I think part of it is around this, high tolerance for pain, but also around trying to always be, respectful and helpful, not harmful towards other people. And I do tend to talk myself around lots of things. So for me, I had to address this particular change that I needed to happen front on. Like deal with it head on was what I mean, not front on. Deal with it head on. Another thing that I thought about while I was thinking about all of this kind of stuff is that sometimes we can be blind to the things that need to be done. So I remember in 2016, my husband and I flew over to the UK for his best mate's wedding. Now, what's really fun, in quotes about this, it sounds great. We landed in on a Thursday and we were leaving on, I think it was on the Monday night actually, or first thing on the Tuesday morning. So we were literally in town, if you like, for like a long weekend. We managed to fit a whole bunch of stuff in, but that's by the way. When we landed, we had no suitcases. Our suitcases didn't arrive with us. Now, my husband was one of the groomsmen. I was just to be, in the audience with with the partner of one of the other groomsmen, and I was hanging out with her and her kids. But before that happened, I didn't have a dress, I didn't have shoes, I didn't have a handbag. My husband didn't have dress shoes, he didn't have a belt, he didn't have his suit. He had nothing except for what we had flown in on, and like a spare pair of underwear and something else in our hand luggage. Like it was nothing. So what we had to do, so we got in on a Thursday. We spent all day Thursday dealing with airlines and lost luggage departments and the endless amounts of, the loops that you go through when you call a call center and they're like, press 7 for blah, blah, and then you miss the number, so then you have to listen to the whole thing again. Then you end up in the wrong department. So then you have to get transferred, and then you get lost. So you're sitting on hold for forever, or they hang up on you and then you have to go through the whole damn rigmarole again. Yeah, that happened. It was not fun. What we ended up doing, we got to the hotel that we were staying at that night with our hand luggage, and there were blood stains on the sheet. The room was dirty. It was just disgusting. I was really scared that if we went out, that the people at the reception desk would come into our room and steal our stuff. They looked like Russian gangsters or something. I was like, really, I was tired. I didn't have my stuff. We were stressed out. I knew I was going to be not hanging out with my husband over the weekend because of all of his groomsmen responsibilities. And I was just not a happy camper. So what we ended up doing that particular night, I booked another hotel. And funnily enough, I hadn't actually changed the settings in my phone to update to the current time zone. So we're in London in this restaurant. We caught up with one of my husband's other mates and his family. And I'm like, right, I've booked this other hotel on booking.com, and we've just got to go grab our stuff from the crazy Russians, and then we're off to this other hotel in a much nicer part of town. So we've gotten our stuff, we've gone to the hotel, and the hotel said, oh, you're booked in for tomorrow night. You're not booked in for tonight. And I'm like, oh my God, you've got to be freaking kidding me. So word to the wise, I didn't like changing my calendar settings or my time settings automatically because I used to have a lot of one-on-one coaching calls. I would deliver a lot of trainings, and I liked to always make sure that I was operating on Melbourne time so I could stay on track with what was happening. And I do the same thing when I'm over in the States. But over in the UK, I didn't even think about booking.com picking up the dates and the times from local time, which meant that I was trying to book in the future or the past or something that had happened. So anyway, the hotel managed to find us a room, even though they told us that they were completely sold out. Found us a room, got us in, no worries. The next day, whilst dealing with insurance companies, airlines, and all the rest of it, over Ramadan as well, by the way. And I was like, I need to go find a dress for the wedding. I don't have my head thing. What do they call those things? I can't think. The pretty head things that people in the United Kingdom wear to weddings. Not bonnets. I can't think of the headdress things that they wear. Fascinators is the word. And I was like, I haven't got a fascinator. I haven't got a dress. I haven't got shoes. I don't have a handbag. I've got nothing. So we had to go shopping. So we've gone into Marks and Spencer's, and there's nothing in there. And I'm like, this has got nothing in here that's going to work for me. So we ended up in Selfridges. And what a beautiful shopping experience that is. However, they have got the most unforgiving mirrors in their change rooms. So normally you would imagine that a 3-way mirror when you're getting changed in a change room would give you the ability to feel really great about how you look at all angles, right? So I've got this dress, I've got into the change room, I've stripped down to my bra and undies, and I'm getting ready to pull this dress up from my feet upwards. And I've caught sight of the side view and the back view of my body. And I was mortified. I knew that I'd put on a little bit of weight, but I have never noticed on my own body how much cellulite I had. I didn't realize how much weight I had put on. It was something that I had been ignoring for quite a long time because work was so busy. My kid was off the rails. Dom and I had to fight to get our relationship back on track. And, it'd been a really rough few years, even though the success of the business was great. So I had been ignoring my health. And catching sight of my reflection, I was just like, holy fuck, something needs to change. So for me, that was my trigger for change to completely revolutionize, and for want of a better word, the way I treat my body, my health, and things like that. And it was really the start, mid-2016 was really the start of me getting my body to a place that I really felt like I wanted to get to and be so much healthier for myself, for my kids, for the business, for my clients, for everything. I had so much more energy and things like that. But I had to, I guess, really face something quite confronting for me to go, right, something has to be different. Something has to change. So we all have these different triggers for change moments, right? And like the most recent one has been around my coaching business. I want to do more. I want to reach more people. I want to help support, motivate, and inspire so many more people out there than what I've been able to do in the past. And I'm like, right, well, the trigger for change for me is I've got to do something different. I don't want to keep just doing the same thing over and over and over again for the next 55 years, like that I've been doing with, except the time off, I've been doing for the last 15 years. So it's like, okay, well, something's got to change. What are we going to do? And for me, it was really like, all right, throw myself in the deep end, find a way to get on and do the things that I want to be able to do. So for you, if you think about what your triggers for change are within yourself, perhaps within your career, maybe within your business, your marketing, whatever it is, your health, what has been your trigger for change? Because I want to pose this question to you. If you think about the people that you want to lead, if you think about the people that you want to inspire and motivate, whether it's a potential client, whether it's a team that you're leading, doesn't matter who it is, what's their trigger for change? Because if things aren't at a point in their life, in their world, in their career where they are going to do something drastically different, then it's going to make it very hard for you to potentially try and convince them that they need to do this thing, that they need to change, that they need to buy from you, that they need to change their behaviors, that they need to change their habits, or that they should or could look at things a little bit differently. What's their trigger for change? I know for a lot of the people that I work with, it's like, well, I am so sick and tired of being and feeling invisible. I'm sick of not getting the clients that I want. I'm sick of everybody else coming into the seat and they're like, instant expert, just add computer. Or maybe they're sick of everybody else getting promotions over them. But maybe some of this is resonating with you. Maybe you're frustrated that everybody else has all of these amazing ideas and seems to be really lucky. What's going on? So what is their trigger for change? And how can you talk into that with your leadership, with your thought leadership, with the content that you're putting out there if you're marketing, if you're trying to apply for jobs or you've got people who are applying for jobs and not being successful, then how can you inspire and motivate them to do something differently? Because if you can identify what your trigger for change is or has been and what their trigger for change is, then it makes it a lot easier to have a conversation with them about how you're going to be able to help them achieve what they want. Triggers for change, they're really powerful and they are something that you want to make sure that you are using and thinking about and talking about from a very ethical standpoint. So there you go. I would love to hear from you what your triggers for change have been in your past or perhaps where you're at right now, or what the triggers for change are that you've noticed with the people that you're influencing or motivating or leading in your life, career and world. My name is Nicola Moras, and if you've got a podcast topic that you would love for me to talk into, please reach out and let me know. You can find me in all of the places. My coaching is nicolamoras.com.au. My speaking stuff is all nicolaspeaks.com. I look forward to hearing from you soon.